My name, as Bern says, my name is Liam Clark. I work for Incognito Software. We're an OSS software vendor with 20 plus years experience of service provisioning and device management service. We have offices over the world, and I'm personally based in Vancouver in Canada, BC. We're owned by Canada's largest independent software company, Constellation Software. So as most of our presenters have mentioned, 2020 has been a very unusual year. None of us could have predicted at the start of 2020 the dramatic shift to working from home due to the pandemic. And this has had a number of consequences. The first one really is obviously when the pandemic started, working from home, everyone started to learn to deal with the different working setups. But now, so many months into it, there really is an expectation from an end consumer that effectively office grade connectivity is what you would like to have. So that experience that you have within your home of the connectivity when you're doing your work on sharing your screen, on voice calls, etc., yeah, it should be as good as you have whenever we're working at the office. There's also a new peak period usage. So traditionally, the peak period times would have been in the weekends or late in the evenings. So now, the the peak periods start from 7, 8 in the morning until um, until 7, 8, 9 p.m. at night, which is a big key shift. We also have competing key applications. So I'm sure many people have multiple people working from home at the same time. Myself and my wife both work for different companies, and I use Microsoft Teams, for video, voice, video, sharing screens, and my wife uses Google Hangouts for her job, and so it's something that we've really not really seen in the industry as much of having key applications, basically that need to have that office grade quality competing in the same home. So from a consumer expectation, both of those applications have to work flawlessly. And really for service providers themselves, this really gives a number of key opportunities to deal with these issues. And I wanted to highlight some of the key challenges that we really see in 2020 from Incognito. So the first thing is that consistent experience. I mean, it's something that we really want. We don't want to have Wi-Fi drops when we're in our calls, and a lot of us when we're doing Zoom calls or team calls, etc., are using maybe our mobile devices walking around our house or space that we're working from. So we want to make sure that that we don't have drops in different places on our in our environment. From a troubleshooting perspective of CSRs, when people do call in with issues, there is a lack of network visibility to be able to do that troubleshooting, to find out, is someone having issues on their phone because they're using an older, say Android 2.4 gigahertz phone, for example. As Tom mentioned in his previous talk, is good, really in-depth detail of the various cyber attacks of ransomware around coronavirus, and he gave a number of good use cases there. We can really see this has been a big issue in the connected home. Many consumers are being targeted. Like Tom gave an example of Amazon links for phishing attacks, and the corporation used to be able to secure itself between firewalls that were very very well maintained, always patched, etc. But now the easiest target to get into a corporation is from those people working from home. Being able to get key analytics from the environments from that connected home to find out how the quality is working over time is really key. And then ultimately to be able to optimize that, solve have a proactive approach to those issues and be able to automate solutions around there. So in case you haven't heard of USP stands for User Service Platform. This is an evolution of the TR69 protocol, which was developed by the Broadband Forum. So it's just TR369 is the standard. It's backward compatible for TR69 using the TR181 device model. And it's designed to be used for multi-vendor and multi-application environments. And it's an open standard. So obviously most people are probably familiar with open source. You can have an open source agent, but unless you have also an open standard. There's no way that companies can um, have an input into basically developing the standard and improving it and having an input into that. So one of the great things about Broadband Forum is for the USP is it allows input from anyone who's a Broadband Forum member. And that's something that we've seen over the last year or so, that there's been a lot of input from a lot of different people. So it really leads to the ecosystem really developing. So for quality experience, how does USP really impact that? So the three kind of key areas I'm going to kind of touch on. The first one is monitoring statistics. This one of the differences between TR69 is if you are using or if you are using TR69, to talk to the device, you have to perform a handshake, go basically reach out to the device and talk to itself. With USP, one of the key design changes is an always-on connectivity. So there's always a connection between the CPE device and in the home and directly back to the USB controller itself. So that can be a direct one-to-one connection using something like WebSockets, or it could be through a third-party broker using a protocol like MQTT or STOMP. Another key design change within USP is notifications. So this is really powerful because it allows for anything that's defined on the home gateway itself using the TR181 device model, events, parameters. We can define notifications on there, subscribe to those notifications, and we'll get informed on any of those when they happen. In the previous TR69 world, we had to basically always keep reaching out to the device. But what this does in itself is it allows us to set up subscriptions and to get notifications on anything that we really want to zone in on from an operator perspective. We also have multiple controllers, which in TR69, you can only have a one-to-one relationship. We have an N1 relationship, and I'll talk about a bit about that later on. And we also have virtualized services, which essentially is like an app store that allows applications to be run on your home gateway itself, but like a cell phone, where traditionally many years ago you would just use cell phone for telephone calls or texting. Now obviously you can run any sort of apps on there. The virtualized services does the same for the home gateway itself. So when I was talking about the notifications and subscriptions, this really gives us a number of different options for a quality of experience, especially around business and operation solutions. The first thing is dashboards. With all of the notifications and subscriptions we can build up real-time dashboards, which is something that we have in Incognito, for example. And we can have these dashboards created on a specific individual use case. So for example, for an individual subscriber, if you're a CSR, you would want to go into, if someone calls up, say they've got a problem with their Wi-Fi, the CSR would obviously want to be able to get that real-time view into the home. And with the real-time connectivity on USB, we can build up those dashboards. But also you might want a system-wide dashboards to display from operational data. How are all of the how are all the gateways doing in a certain area, a certain region, and to be able to obviously have alerts based on of those. You could have for those dashboards. So it's very powerful for the notifications subscriptions we can build up these dashboards from. The next thing we can do is build up custom scripting. We've got a JavaScript engine that we have, but whatever platform you're using, you can, whenever you receive these notifications to your USB controller, you can then build up logic on those. So for example, if you're wanting to act upon a firmware upgrade that either succeeded or failed, you could build logic into that. Obviously, you would another key use case would be onboarding devices. So if you received a device for the first time, you might want to integrate with your third-party billing system or a new service you'd want to build into that. And you could even just configure alerts, for example, updating a Slack channel or Teams channel for your operations team if a certain event happens. A final thing for notifications and subscriptions is that's really key is the long-term analytics. So to have that trend analysis, so we can find, okay, over time, the first, two items there, dashboard and scripting, is maybe reactive, but if we have that real-time data that we're constantly uploading to our internal network, we can then run machine learning algorithms on those and try and find out, why is there certain issues happening on certain devices, and proactively resolve those issues. So within USP itself, there's a number of items that I wanted to highlight, which is pretty useful for powering those quality of experience use cases. First one of those is bulk data. We can specify parameters that we really want to zone into. So for example, the Wi-Fi use case, if we are wanting to build up that proactive support, what we would likely want to do is to, have a certain set of Wi-Fi parameters that we're really interested in, and get as much information. Maybe sample that data every 10 seconds. Correlate that data over a certain time frame, for example, 15 minutes, and upload that to a cloud location, which is what bulk data gives. So that cloud location can then use a collector to add that into your data lake to run some analytics on it, for example, using Apache Spark or something. Or also you could then potentially publish it on a message bus like Kafka. We can also do periodic statistics. So this would be something where we can sample over a certain amount of time frame. So for example, maybe you'd want to check the Wi-Fi channel ID over a certain number of time. And then at the end of that time frame, hour or 2 hours, find out what channel IDs has the certain CPE been on. We can also set up thresholds. So for example, we had if we have a Wi-Fi interface that had a byte count over certain statistics, we could get that data and set up. And in general, we can, for any of the parameters, we can specify wildcards and search expressions to really customize that data. So it's 100% configurable, which is really powerful. I touched on the Wi-Fi use case. The Wi-Fi data elements is something that was added recently into tier 181. And this gives the operators the really better functionality, visibility into customer Wi-Fi networks for KPIs such as Wi-Fi data rates, airtime, and retry rates. So as it mentions here, we have over 130 performance metrics, which we can then build into the notifications, subscriptions. We can use bulk data, we can use thresholds, etc., to really build up our analytics platform to resolve these Wi-Fi issues, which are the most common issue that we have found for CSRs. Next item I wanted to touch on was multiple controllers. As I mentioned, in the tier 69 world, it's a one-to-one relationship between the ACS and the CPE. Within USP, we can have multiple controllers controlling a single gateway. So this allows a number of use cases here. First one is third-party applications. For example, you could have a Wi-Fi optimization platform that controls just the Wi-Fi, and you could have the rest of the device controlled by another platform. We can also have device onboarding via an app. Obviously, we all want to use apps to control our devices. We could use the co-op protocol on a cell phone app to get the device onboarded and then get it connected onto the consumer's network. And finally, there's the final two things is statistics and monitoring. If with all of this data I was talking about in previous slides, potentially there's concerns over performance and overloading systems, etc. Well, with multiple controllers, we could set up a specific controllers that just deal with statistics and monitoring. And we could also set one up for troubleshooting or upgrades specifically around those use cases for your environments. Final item I want to talk about is virtualized services. As I mentioned, this is one of the big changes that's going to be in 2021, where inside of the gateway, we can run on container software. So if you're familiar with things like Docker, this containerization software using the software module management USP allows applications, such as Tom was mentioning security suites. We can also have traffic prioritization to say, I would prefer to manage the Zoom traffic as giving more priority over, say, for example, Netflix or some other connections. You can run, for example, speed tests or parental controls. And really, there's a whole raft of applications that we're seeing operators wanting to run directly on the gateway itself. So it's a very exciting aspect of ESP. So to wrap up for 2021 from the Connected Home, we see being able to meet the SLA promise with office grid connectivity. Deliver USP, multiple controllers can deliver business-centric and products and services, provides a seamless experience with evolving traffic patterns, and to automate those processes using the analytics with subscriptions and notifications. So just to wrap up and hand back to Bern, there's a number of links here. USP Technologies got all details for TR369. We also have a USP questions channel on the Broadband Forum Slack channel if you're a Broadband Forum member, and please check out these incognito links if you're interested in the USP. And I'll hand back to Bern. Thank you.